I never expected to witness a heartbreaking act of kindness that transformed our lives forever. I still remember that day. The sun felt different, heavy. It hung low in the sky, casting long shadows that seemed to whisper secrets. I stood there, frozen, as the world around me turned chaotic. Sounds blurred, laughter faded into distant echoes. I was struggling, my heart pounding in my chest, my breath shallow and quick. I carried the weight of loss like a thick shroud. My mom had just lost her job. Bills piled high and food was scarce. We were on the brink of losing everything. My fingers trembled as I clutched the crumpled letter from the eviction notice. I could almost feel its coldness seeping into my skin. My little brother, Ethan, was always the joyful one. His laughter was a buoy in my storm. But today, there was a cloud over him too. I could see it, his usually bright eyes now dim, clouded with worry he shouldn't have to bear at his age. I reached for him, needing comfort, but instead, I felt his small frame shuddering against my shoulder, a silent acknowledgement of the darkness creeping closer. Then it happened. Out of nowhere, the scene shifted. A stranger stepped forth, an older man with wild, white hair and eyes that sparkled with mischief and kindness. He embraced the chaos, almost dancing through the confusion. "Hey everyone, look here," he shouted, and all eyes turned to him, curiosity piqued. He reached into his coat, pulling out something shiny, something so bright it seemed to disrupt the dull atmosphere. In that moment, everything went still. People held their breaths, captivated. What was it? A golden ticket? A magic wand? My heart raced as he began handing out small envelopes. What's in them? I wondered aloud, scanning the crowd. People opened their envelopes, expressions of surprise washing over their faces, morphing into smiles. Money? No, something better. Each contained a handwritten note and a telling amount of cash, the kind that could save a life or a home. I could hear murmurs, gasps, and the clattering of hopeful hearts. Was this real? Could kindness be this powerful? My heart squeezed. Tears welled up, blurring my vision. Ethan pulled away to get a closer look, his little hands reaching out, grasping the air like it was a lifeline. The man continued, his voice rising over the gathering buzz. "This is for anyone who needs it. Share the love. Pay it forward." His words danced in the air, light and airy, igniting sparks of hope. The indescribable weight shifted. But just when I thought we might breathe again, someone in the crowd yelled, "Wait. Who are you?" A murmur spread, confusion mixed with suspicion. Whispers filled the gaps, questions hanging in the air like storm clouds, threatening a downpour. I felt a chill creeping down my spine. Why was this man really here? As the crowd buzzed with excitement and trepidation, I caught a glimpse of the man's face, a fleeting expression that hinted at secrets untold. What if this was more than a random act of kindness? I couldn't shake the feeling that something far more complex was unfolding. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The joy that had filled the air like sweet incense began to wane, replaced by a heaviness that settled in the pit of my stomach. The man with the wild hair was still handing out envelopes, but there was a new tension in the crowd, a collective questioning of motives that gnawed at my heart. I looked at Ethan as he danced between curiosity and apprehension, his small hands clutching the precious envelope he had just received. "Do you think he is really here to help?" Ethan whispered, leaning into me, his breath warm against the chill that was creeping in from the edges. "I want to believe he is," I admitted, though uncertainty clouded my words. The truth was I could feel the unease brewing. "But we have to be careful." Just then, I overheard snippets of conversation as a group nearby debated the old man's intentions. What if this is a scam? And he could be a fraud, trying to look like a hero. These remarks snaked through my thoughts, turning my hope into doubt. The kindness we had witnessed felt like a fragile bubble, and every word was a pin ready to burst it. As the group dispersed, peering around to see others' reactions, I glanced at the envelope in Ethan's hands. His eyes were wide, alive in a way I hadn't seen in days. And just like that, the childlike belief in miracles surged within him. Maybe we should open it, he exclaimed, tugging at my arm. With my heart pounding, I nodded, knowing in that moment it could either be a lifeline or another weight to carry. Yet, I also understood that this might be our chance to reclaim a bit of joy. We moved to the side, away from the wary crowd, and I carefully unfolded the envelope, my fingers trembling in anticipation. Inside, a note lay atop a handful of cash, shimmering like the remnants of hope. Believe in kindness, it read. You are stronger than you think. Keep this close and share what you can. I flipped the envelope over. No name, just a simple reminder that there were still good things in the world. But the cash, it was enough to cover our next few bills. Relief washed over me like a tidal wave, while concern lingered. This is amazing, Ethan, I said, trying to keep my voice steady, forcing a smile because I couldn't let my brother see the shadows clinging to my heart. His face lit up with glorified innocence. Can we get ice cream later? Sure, buddy. Ice cream sounds perfect. But even as I made that promise, the undercurrent of anxiety tugged at my thoughts. What came next? Could we truly trust this act of generosity, or was it merely a prelude to something darker? Just as we shared a fleeting moment of joy, a commotion broke out a few feet away. I turned my head to see a woman pointing angrily at the old man, her face flushed with indignation. You can't just come here and throw money at us. What do you want? Is this all a game to you? In that moment, every eye fixed on him, including mine, and with it, a wave of tension surged heavy, palpable. I could see the old man falter, his bright demeanor dimming as he tried to explain himself amidst the rising outrage. I only want to help, to bring back a little warmth, but the crowd had already begun to splinter into factions, some supporting him, others demanding answers. My breath caught in my throat. Ethan squeezed my hand, his small fingers trembling. Maybe we should go, I murmured, pulling him close as the gathering grew more chaotic. I don't want to leave, he protested, a mixture of excitement and fear. It feels like something good might happen. Just then, the old man's voice broke through the tension. I lost everything once, too. I'm just trying to give back. Please listen. I saw the shimmer of tears in his eyes. Something deeper resonated there, a hidden story masked by the folly of the moment. Suddenly vulnerable, he seemed less like the quirky stranger and more like a lost soul seeking redemption. I could feel the pulse of empathy pushing against my doubts. And yet, the volatility of the crowd still held me in place, like a deer caught in headlights. What would happen next? Would kindness prevail, or would fear drive us apart? Before I could dwell on my indecision, I noticed something glinting at my feet. I bent down, my heart leaping as I picked up a small, forgotten envelope, tattered and almost hidden beneath a flyer. Without hesitation, I opened it, my heart racing, only to discover it was another note. This one hastily scrawled. Trust is a gamble. Some bets lead to miracles, others to chaos. Choose wisely. My breath caught in my throat as I reread the words. Who had left this here? What did it mean? I felt the walls closing in, uncertainty swirling like a cruel tempest. In the midst of the crowd's rising uproar, I grasped Ethan's hand tighter, knowledge dawning like a dark cloud overhead. This moment could change us forever, paving roads of kindness or spiraling us deeper into confusion and mistrust. Just as I opened my mouth to shout for Ethan to follow me, the old man locked eyes with me, a silent exchange loaded with expectation. That exact moment, the first drops of rain began to fall from the heavy sky, an omen of the chaos that was yet to unfold. The first raindrops landed on the pavement, splattering against the ground and creating little puddles that reflected the worried faces around me. The initial sprinkle quickly escalated into a steady downpour, and gasps of surprise rippled through the crowd like a wave crashing upon the shore. The old man stood there, drenched and bewildered, the edges of his wild hair curling against his wet forehead, his vibrant coat losing its shine under the relentless rain. Everyone, please. We can't let a little rain disrupt what we've started here. His voice reached out, desperate and full of conviction. Yet as those words echoed, my heart sank deeper. The crowd, now struggling with the cold and wet, seemed to forget the warmth of his intentions. Ethan tugged at my sleeve, his excitement faltering as the rain doused the last traces of joy we had briefly shared. "Look, Mary, that lady is crying." He pointed toward a woman, soaked to the skin, struggling to hold her child close, her tears mingling with the rain as she whispered comforting words to her frightened baby. I understood that this wasn't merely about the money or the strange man with gifts of kindness. This was a moment for our community, a reckoning, if you will, all while the skies cried for our pain. As I glanced back at Ethan, his face was a canvas of confusion and sorrow, the innocence of ice cream dreams washed away. Before I could respond, a man shouted back, "Get out of here. You think you can fix everything with your nonsense?" There was fury in his voice that resonated with the crowd, and as they shifted like a tide driven by anger and hurt, the old man's shoulders slumped. My breath hitched in my throat. With the storm collapsing around us, I suddenly sensed an urgency deep within me, a primal instinct to protect what remained of my brother's sense of hope. "Ethan, let us go check on that lady," I decided. "She might need help." We pushed through the throng, and as we reached her, I knelt beside her, my own heart quickening as I gently asked, "Are you okay?" The woman looked up, her eyes wide and glistening, fear mingling with gratitude. She nodded, but I could see the tremor in her lips, her steadiness an illusion as we offered a blanket of kindness. A woman nearby broke off from the chaos and ran to fetch her an umbrella from her car. "You aren't alone," she said softly, her voice piercing through the din of the crowd. It was a small moment, but in that flicker, the atmosphere shifted slightly. Hope surged forth like the timid roots of a flower breaking through the winter soil, that I glanced back at the old man who had withdrawn further into the shadows, now a mere silhouette in the thickening rain. The fervor in his eyes was extinguished, his body language heavy with defeat. I had opened my mouth to call out to him, to tell him that not everyone shared the anger, but my voice failed. Fear of rejection clawed at my throat instead. Ethan knelt beside me, utterly enthralled by the woman's gentle words, and I saw something flicker in him, the faintest glimpse of belief returning. "She is not alone, Mary. We can help her," he said, his voice full of conviction. It hit me then. The raw power of hope mirrored in those small moments of kindness, and Ethan brought me back from the brink of despair, but the escalating tension still teetered. The man's voice rose again, a battle cry that sliced through the rain. "This is a lie. You're just trying to make us all feel good while ignoring the real problems." In that instant, my heart raced as I turned to face the old man whose fragile spirit seemed to sway like a branch about to snap. Just then, a shard of clarity pierced through my turmoil. I understood within the fragile connection of kindness, vulnerability was our greatest strength. Gathering my courage, I stepped forward into the line of anger, taking a long, steadying breath. "What if he is right?" I shouted into the tempest. "What if we opened our hearts to each other instead of merely judging? What is wrong with believing that a little kindness?" My breath caught in my throat as I realized my words had slipped into the air like so many others before me. The shifting moods of the crowd began to echo my sentiments, surprising even myself. A ripple of disbelief mingled with hope flitted from person to person, like a melody spreading through a once silent room. But just when a glimmer of connection ignited, someone pushed past, shouting back, "Kindness doesn't pay the rent. We need real change." Gazes switched from the old man to me, and I felt their questions weigh heavily. I didn't have the words to defend the sacredness of connection, of shared humanity amidst hardships. I didn't have the answers they sought, merely remnants of hope. And just when it seemed the wave of anger would crash down, something unexpected happened. A young girl stepped out from the sidelines, clutching her own envelope and shouting above the rain, "I got one too. He is real. I believe him." The words hung in the air as if suspended in time, a spark igniting amidst the dark clouds above. I felt Ethan's hand squeeze mine, a surge of warmth igniting between us like the fleeting glow of candlelight. Before I could respond to the girl, before any of us could breathe, I noticed a flicker of movement from across the street, an onlooker standing by their car, their attention drawn toward the scene. The rain poured down, obscuring my vision, but before I could comprehend the unfolding moments, that figure stepped closer. Then my heart stopped, the truth crashing into me like a thousand waves. Standing there, drenched yet impossibly familiar, was someone from my past, a ghost I had never expected to see again. "Mary," they called out, voice piercing through the chaos as if divinely orchestrated. "I'm here." The world around me began to spiral, and I felt a cold flush sweep over me, a mixture of dread and hope, leaving me suspended between the past and the uncertain future as everyone turned to witness this surprising reunion. As the rain fell relentlessly around us, the crowd parted momentarily, giving me a glimpse of the figure standing in the distance. The voice, a haunting echo of my past, reverberated through my bones, a name I hadn't uttered aloud in years. "Eli." I took a hesitant step forward, my heart pounding as a wave of emotions crashed over me, tumbling through years of memories, some sweet, some laced with sharp regret. Eli had been my best friend, my confidant, before life twisted us onto different paths. A path marked by silence, by unspoken words and fractures that felt both insurmountable yet scabbed over with time. "What are you doing here?" I paused, taking in his bedraggled form. The laughter in his eyes was now weighed down by shadows. "Why Haven Tu? I needed to find you," he interrupted, his tone urgent, almost desperate against the drumming of the rain. This storm, I felt it calling me back. The sincerity in his eyes penetrated through my confusion. Who would have thought that mending the cracks of my heart would come wrapped in the chaos of a deluge? Amidst the swell of swirling emotions, I lost track of everything around me. The cries of anger and the shimmers of hope faded into the background. Eli stepped closer, his soaked shirt clinging to him like a second skin, revealing a vulnerability that mirrored my own. "I have so much to explain." "Why now?" I could barely keep my voice steady. "After all this time?" Before he could respond, Ethan, still holding my hand, tugged at my sleeve, his innocent curiosity piqued by the unfolding drama. "Do you know him, Mary?" His eyes darted between us, searching for answers. "Yes, Ethan, I used to know him very well." I felt my resolve waver, the warmth of my brother's presence drawing me steadily away from the torrent of unresolved emotions. He is a part of my past. Eli's expression darkened, a flicker of regret playing across his face. "And I'm sorry for how everything ended, Mary. I should have been there for you." The rain seemed to pause in that moment, diluting the tension surrounding us, a small act of grace amidst the turmoil. I knew we were standing on the edge of something monumental, not just for me, but for the uncertainty gnawing at the hearts of those around us. The warmth of the connection I once had with Eli felt like a radiator in a snowstorm, drawing me closer even as I wrestled with a surge of doubt. Before I could respond, the man from the crowd, still simmering with anger, shouted, "What good is history when we have a future to deal with? All this drama won't feed our families." His words sliced through the fragile atmosphere, reigniting the discord among the people around us. Eli turned, facing the crowd. "And what if in rebuilding our relationships, we find the strength to change our future?" His voice was steady, powerful in contrast to the chaos that swirled around us. Real relationships can pave new paths, even amid the most turbulent storms. The shift in mood was palpable. Surprise replaced anger as murmurs spread through the throng. It felt like pulling threads from the tapestry woven of our struggles. A new fabric fashioned from empathy began to take shape. I noticed faces softening, curiosity blossoming in the hearts on the edge of despair. Ethan's grip tightened, resonating with the vulnerability of our moment. "Mary, he's right," he whispered urgently. "We can help each other. Just like that lady. Just like everyone else." But just as I found a flicker of hope, a horrifying realization pricked at the edge of my consciousness. My mind raced with the weight of Eli's unexpected presence, memories flooding back uninvited. Shadows lingered from our past, crisscrossing my heart like jagged scars, and I began to fear what I might discover about the reason for his return. "Eli," I murmured, fighting against my own vulnerability. "Why now? Why did you come back after everything that happened? Did you come to reignite old wounds?" He faltered under my gaze, the storm mirroring our turbulence as his silence hung heavily in the air. "Mary, there are things you don't know, things that Haven changed." My heart raced, questions swelling in my chest, desperate for answers that felt just beyond grasp. Just then, a flash of light illuminated the street, its brilliance cutting through the downpour. I squinted against the brightness, confusion blossoming into dread. The flash was followed by a police siren, its wail splitting through the rain-soaked air. And then I noticed something even more chilling, a figure emerging from the shadows near Eli, face obscured by the pounding rain. "Eli," the voice shouted, sharp and filled with urgency. "You need to come with me now." Our moment of revelation came crashing down, his past gripping like a vice around my heart, leaving me desperate for clarity. I gasped, feeling every muscle in my body tighten. Was this a revelation of help, or an echo of an ancient wound that would open again? And then Eli turned, his eyes locking onto mine, the pages of our untold story opening around us. "Mary, we don't have time. There are things I need to explain about my departure, and why your love might be the only thing that can save us both." A breath caught in my throat as the truth loomed. A storm was not just coming from the skies, but from the echoes of our shared past, threatening to consume us both. I could feel the crowd's anticipation, the woven tapestry of our lives intertwining in a moment full of fragile hope and impending heartbreak. The air was thick with murky tension, clinging to us like the rain-soaked fabric of our clothes. Eli's urgency had sparked a fire in my heart, but the shadows of the past loomed larger now than ever, distilling all my emotions into an aching confusion. The figure in the distance stepped forward, revealing a familiar face marred by time and turmoil. It was Marcus, Eli's older brother, a man who had once been both a protector and a source of silent resentment within our shared history. "Eli, don't do this," Marcus urged, his voice edged with a mix of concern and a strange desperation that made my heart race. The crowd's whispers morphed into a tempest of confusion, people shifting their weight back and forth as speculation brewed. "You can't just go tying yourself back to old flames." My breath hitched as Eli met his brother's gaze, the depth of longing and regret simmering between them. "It's not the past that binds me, it's the future, Marcus," he countered, voice steady, yet behind it lay a ghost of vulnerability. "Mary deserves to know. We all deserve to know." Before Marcus could retort, I interjected, searching for clarity. "What are you talking about? What is happening?" My voice trembled, the weight of their words slipping through my fingers like grains of sand. Just then, a woman from the crowd stepped forward, water streaming from her tangled hair, a fierce fire burning in her eyes. "We deserve answers," she shouted, passion igniting the weary faces around her. "How can we heal if old wounds are festering just beneath the surface?" Her voice propelled me towards this deep-seated need for truth. "Yes, please. We all deserve answers. Whatever happened in the past, we need to address it. Together." Eli's eyes shone like lanterns in the dark, gratitude and apprehension flickering there. "There's something I haven't told you, Mary," he began, his voice steady like the calm after a storm. "The reason I left it was to protect you. It revolves around something much larger than us, a mistake that started with my family." "Your family?" The words spilled out of me, confusion mounting with every sentence. "What do they have to do with any of this?" "Everything," he admitted, his face twisted with sorrow. "My father was involved in something dangerous, and when he realized what was coming, he pushed me away to shield you from the chaos. I never got the chance to explain. It was all so quick it felt like a nightmare." Marcus stepped in nearer, his anger dissipating under the weight of Eli's words. "Our family wasn't just the source of love. It was a web of danger that ensnared everyone on the outside. Mary, there are secrets we've kept for years, allegiances that were made in darkness. If Eli is right, then they still exist." My heart thudded, the enormity of the situation pressing heavily on my chest. What were they trying to convey? I had lived with the shadow of Eli's absence for years, and now questions bloomed like weeds in my mind. What secrets lay hidden in the corners of the lives we once shared? Then, almost instinctively, I turned to Ethan, seeking his unwavering light amidst the darkening storm. His eyes were wide, knees trembling slightly as he pulled at my arm. "Mary, I know you love him," he whispered cautiously. "But do we even know who we are fighting against? We can't just jump in without knowing." The Eli cut him off, focusing fiercely on me. "Mary, please. We don't have that luxury. There's danger in silence, and it's coming for us right now." His voice quivered slightly, each word a plea, as he scanned the crowd, which had now shifted into a cautious bubble of curiosity and empathy. A wave rippled through the throng of people waiting for anything to hold on to. The earlier tensions began to dissolve into a shared sense of community, forged from our struggles, yet still layered with fear as one by one faces turned towards me, looking for guidance. Eli's eyes reflected an unyielding truth, despite the chaos swirling outside us. You're the only one who can help mend the fabric of our past, Mary. I need you by my side as we face the ghosts of my family together. I felt my heart constrict as new questions buzzed in my mind, shadows creeping toward the corners of my consciousness. What lay ahead? What would happen if we uncovered those long-buried secrets? But adding to my uncertainty was the horrifying realization that we might unravel everything and lose not just ourselves, but the fragile threads of connection that still bound us. I knew I faced an impossible choice. Guys, I'm scared, I admitted, the words spilling like rainwater escaping through cracks. What if we awaken something we can't control? Eli's stare intensified, unwavering. Then we'll face it together. I'll never let you be alone in this again. Before the moment could settle, the figure lurking in the shadows called out again, urgency lacing their tone. Eli, we have to leave now. The crowd stirred uneasily, uncertainty now replacing the glimmer of hope. A deep-seated fear took root in my stomach, a chilling anticipation mingling with the drops of rain that soaked through my skin. What truth lay ahead, waiting to consume us? I exhaled, my breath mingling with the storm, as we stood on the precipice of revelation, a choice darkening the horizon, for it was clear one thing was inevitable: the storm hadn't even begun to break. The rain continued to fall in an unrelenting torrent, hammering against the pavement like the beat of anxious hearts. I stood there, caught between Eli's fierce resolve and the growing uncertainty that loomed over us. As the crowd shifted uneasily, the girl who had called out for answers took a bold step forward, voice trembling but steady. I don't know about you all, she proclaimed, her gaze scanning our faces, but I believe in us. We can face the truth together. Whatever happened before, we can make sense of it if we don't hide anymore. Her words hung heavy in the air, reverberating through our collective silence. I felt a flicker of hope ignite within me, pushing back against the overwhelming fear that threatened to consume us. The vulnerability we had all carried, the invisible scars etched upon our hearts, suddenly felt lighter. The girl's courage had tapped into something buried deep inside each of us. Eli, still clenched tightly in the grip of urgency, turned to her with appreciation shining in his eyes. Thank you. It's not just a story, though. It's a warning. If we remain silent, if we let the past dictate the future, we risk everything we love. Marcus stepped closer, a solemn nod transforming his expression. I've kept so much bottled up. That storm in my heart. It wasn't just Eli's specter. It was the guilt of hiding the truth. We have to be vulnerable. It's the only way. The intensity in his voice resonated within the crowd, and slowly, hands began to reach out toward one another, the subtle connection of shared pain weaving the fabric of our community tighter. Small moments of kindness surfaced like rafts in a churning sea. A woman offered her damp jacket to a shivering child, while an older man shared a cigarette with the girl, fostering a fleeting smile amid the chaos. That I grasped Eli's hand, seeking solace in his warmth as the winds swirled around us. What if this all ends badly? I whispered, uncertainty creeping back into my thoughts. What if knowing just tears us apart? He turned toward me, his features softening despite the shadows loitering in his eyes. Then we fight back. Together. Trust me, Mary. Trust us. But just as I began to lean into that trust, a low rumble of voices returned to drown out any flicker of hope. Eli is nothing but trouble, someone from the crowd muttered, skeptically crossing their arms. What if he dragged us all into his family's mess? Is it worth the risk? The girl's defiance faltered slightly, brows knitting together in doubt, and my own fear swelled at the thought, were we truly safe in this? Yet, the strength of our shared vulnerability countered this. I looked around, the expressions of the people around me shifting from doubt to shared empathy. A collective ache echoed between us. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, a stranger moved into our midst, an older woman with silvered hair and kind, gray eyes that shimmered like moonlight. She approached Eli and placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. You can't always carry the burden alone, dear. The brave face sometimes hides the biggest heartaches. Let them in. Eli's eyes widened at her unexpected kindness, a warmth enveloping him like a soft embrace amidst a tempest. I want to, but the pain is so deep. Her voice softened, filled with the wisdom of experience. Pain will always exist, but so will love. Every moment you've spent caring for Mary, for all of us here, is an act of love, Eli. Embrace that. In that moment, like blossoms blooming through cracks in asphalt, small gestures of kindness spread through the crowd, each face lighting up with flickering encouragement. For a brief moment, the rain felt less like a burden and more like a cleansing. But then, just as the air thickened with outright camaraderie, movement shifted in the shadows. An ominous figure stepped forward, cloaked in darkness, their presence wrapping around the tender moments with a chilling reminder of the dangers we faced. Eli, the figure's voice sliced through the fragile unity in our hearts. You know better than to stir the pot. The past isn't done with. You yet. Panic surged through the crowd as recognition washed over Eli's face, a mixture of anger, fear, and despair, all contorting into one defining expression. My heart raced as the crowd instinctively stepped back, eyes darting nervously. I squeezed Eli's hand, my pulse drumming as the stoic facade began to crack. What do you want? Eli demanded, his voice trembling. The figure tilted their head, a smile too cold for comfort unveiling something sinister. I want you to remember some truths are best buried. Tension electrified the space, weaving through us like a palpable thread of dread. I looked around, faces stricken with fear, the hands that once reached out now clasped together protectively. The storm hadn't merely gathered forces. It had unleashed a torrent of chaos that threatened to pull us under. An icy realization washed over me. I was standing on the brink of a revelation that could dismantle everything I truly believed in. And the horizon ahead didn't promise safety. As the rain poured heavier and the winds howled louder, an unfamiliar sense of dread entwined with determination surged within me, daring me to step forward. But would I have the strength when the darkness began to flood in? The rain's relentless assault sent rivulets cascading down the streets, each drop a stark reminder of the storm raging within us. Eli stood rigid, grappling with the figure's chilling words as the crowd quaked in collective uncertainty. I could see his mind racing, perhaps spiraling back to memories that should remained buried, echoes of laughter fading into recollections of guilt. Leave us be, he shouted, desperation edging his voice, but the figure brushed aside the plea with the indifference of someone who thrived on turmoil. You can't just walk away from your past, Eli. It's coming for you, whether you like it or not. The crowd drew closer together, fingers lacing, eyes wide with fear. They were searching for reassurance in each other's faces, a flicker of hope amidst the chilling shadows of the unknown. I felt the warmth of their bodies, the rhythmic pulse of their heartbeats in sync with mine and Eli's, grounding me in that moment. Tell us what we need to know. I dared to call out, voice wavering but unyielding. You didn't come here to frighten us alone. You have something to say. But the figure merely laughed, a sound like cracking glass. Oh, but you're so naive, sweet girl. The truth won't save you. It'll break you. And Mary. Eli's voice crackled like thunder as he turned to me with a mix of fear and anger, as if my challenge had inadvertently painted a target on my back. No, I assured him, narrowly breaking past the weight of his concern. We face whatever comes together. That's what we agreed. I won't let fear rule us. The figure took a step closer, the darkness swirling around them as the rain drummed insistently on the pavement at our feet. You really think you can protect her, Eli? You can't even protect yourself from the past. It loves to revisit. And just like that, with those words, the air grew thick with tension where hope had flickered just moments before. My insides twisted, a coil of dread tightening around my chest. Yet, amidst the rising panic, I spotted the old woman again, her determined gaze never leaving Eli's. She offered a small nod, a gentle reminder that we weren't alone. The kindness she had shown earlier held us together now, stitching our frayed emotions back into a semblance of unity. Don't listen to them, Eli, she urged. You are worthy of love, of fighting back. Speak your truth. The air still buzzed with apprehension, but I could see the flicker of determination ignite within Eli's eyes. He straightened his shoulders, the smallest hint of vulnerability hardening into resilience. I won't let you manipulate us. We will speak our truths and weather this storm together, whatever it may be. Brave words, the figure remarked, but their expression morphed into something more twisted, the smile widening like a gash against the backdrop of despair. Let us see if you can hold on to that bravery when the storm reveals its inner workings. With a sudden movement, the figure stepped back into the shadows, an eerie presence lingering even as uncertainty momentarily held its breath. The crowd watched, tension vibrating against the backdrop of the torrential downpour. But deep inside, something was shifting. It felt like the anticipation before a battle, as each heart began to beat in solidarity, each pulse echoing a shared resolve. I think I started quietly, almost afraid to voice it, that we need to confront those memories, face the truth before it truly consumes us. We can't let it control our lives any longer. The old woman stepped forward again, her eyes glistening with the kind of tears that promised resilience. We can hold each other through this. Love can light the darkest paths, my dear. As the rain eased just a fraction, the moment felt fragile, yet powerful. The storm outside mirrored the tempest within. Together, fingers tightened and hearts synchronized. We turned as one towards the unknown, toward the looming revelations. Yet, as I gathered my courage to say the words that had been bubbling to the surface, echoing within that gathering storm, the figure reemerged, a chilling presence, disrupting our newfound resolve. Are you ready for the truth, Eli? Because it might be harder to hear than you think. With one last glance to the crowd, my breath hitched as I realized Eli's face had lost its color, dread now joining the mixture of emotions that defined him. I could feel the tension swell, thickening our shared narrative, with the weight of our past pulling us down into a darkness we barely understood. But like a candle against a night sky, I dared to light the flame of our collective courage. Together, we'll face it together, I declared, but deep inside, uncertainty gnawed at my heart. And then, in a fleeting clash of shadows, the figures spoke their final words. Your innocence will be shattered, Eli. But remember exactly what it is you stand to lose. As the echoes of their threat bounced off the walls of my mind, the chilling truth resonated deeper than the rain against the earth, leaving behind the haunting question. How much were we willing to sacrifice to confront the past, and could we truly survive what it had left in its wake? The rain had begun to relent, but the clouds still hung low over the distant horizon, an echo of the turmoil that churned within each of us. Eli stood at the front of the crowd, the remnants of shock still clinging to him like the moisture in the air. I could see his jaw tighten, the way his fingers flexed with an anxious rhythm, each moment stretching into an eternity as he wrestled with the confrontation looming ahead. Mary, he whispered, barely audible over the sound of raindrops slipping off rooftops. I stepped closer, anxious to bridge the distance between us, my heart a wild drum. What if the truth is worse than what we fear? We'll never know until we face it, Eli. I replied, my voice steadier than I felt. In the dim light, I could see uncertainty flickering in his gaze, shadowed blue pools just waiting for clarity. But the truth had a way of worming into everything, tainting it with questions far beyond understanding. I can't lose you, he confessed, his voice trembling as the weight of his admission hung heavy in the humid air. I felt the world narrow down to just us, a small sanctuary amid the torrent of doubt and memories clawing at his heart. You won't. We'll uncover these hidden truths together, I promised, drawing nearer until our shoulders brushed, a gentle reminder that he was not alone in this tempest. Suddenly, a soft murmur broke through the otherwise tense atmosphere, a wave of hushed voices rising like the promise of dawn. It was the old woman again, who now stood with the strength of an anchor. She shuffled toward us, her weathered face alight with a fierce determination. Children, she called, her voice weaving through the crowd like a warm thread of fabric. I know not the weight of your burdens, but I do know that love strengthens us against the storms of life. The crowd seemed to draw breath as one, their shared anxiety momentarily captivated by her resilience. In the face of darkness, here was a flicker of the light we so desperately needed. When I was young, I too faced a terrible storm, she continued, her voice wavering with emotion. I lost so much, but it was then that I discovered the surprising warmth of kindness. Want to know what saved me? An intrigued murmur raced through the crowd. What? Someone called out, the word tinged with both skepticism and curiosity. It was the moments when our stories intertwined. Acts of love brought to life by even the most unexpected sources. She gestured to a young couple nearby, who exchanged a quiet smile, their fingers intertwined. Kindness can transform our lives, if only we open our hearts to it. As she spoke, I could see Eli soften, the tension easing from his muscles as he absorbed her words. It wasn't a solution to our problems, but a lifeline thrown amidst the crashing waves of fear that threatened to drown us. In this moment, the storm felt slightly less oppressive, but then, like a cruel twist in our narrative, the figure reappeared, shrouded in mist and shadows, transforming the air around us into a chilling void. You think mere kindness can shield you? They sneered, tracing a finger along the edge of the crowd, inspecting our fragile bond. What you face is not just a past to be healed, it's venom that seeps into your very souls. Eli stiffened, and I felt his heartbeat quicken beside me, as if he'd been ensnared in a web of paralyzing fear once more. No, we'll take the venom and turn it into strength, I insisted, grasping Eli's hand tightly, grounding him, the warmth of my fingers igniting some flicker of hope within him. Yet, in the next breath, the figure's laughter rippled through the air, cold and hollow. But oh dear Mary, what if the truth you learn only binds you more tightly to your anger, your darkness? Would you seek the truth, even if it results in losing everything you hold dear? Stop, Eli shouted, his voice cracking. You don't define who we are. We are more than the shadows of our past. The figure's gaze sharpened, its twisted smile morphing into something almost cruel. What if I told you that your sacrifices may end up costing not just your love, but your lives? In that instant, as the words hung in the air, my heart plummeted into an abyss of doubt. What were we willing to lose, and how much was too much? The vulnerability of truth was now tinged with the very real threat of destruction. But before I could articulate that fear, a gasp rolled through the crowd. High above us, emerging from the depths of gloom, a figure descended, a silhouette breaking through the tumultuous clouds, revealing a trembling light, as if hope itself had decided to step forward. Gasps turned to whispers, and the tension morphed into a whirlwind of confusion and dismay. The figure fell from the sky, directly into Eli's path, and as if in a synchronized heartbeat, our collective breath caught in horrified anticipation. Who was this new arrival, and what storm was about to break upon our already battered spirits? And as I met Eli's gaze, those wide, stormy blue eyes, I knew, beyond any rational thought, that our journey had taken an irrevocable turn into the unknown, where secrets would unfurl and destinies would clash. The weight of that revelation loomed ahead like the promise of yet another storm, and this time, we were not merely waiting for the rain. We were ready to face whatever followed. As the figure crumpled to the ground, it was as if time stopped. Eli stepped forward instinctively, his protective instincts ignited by the sudden emergence of this new presence. I held back, overwhelmed by the swirling emotions gripping our small community. The crowd, previously tense, became a tapestry of quiet murmurs and anxious gasps. The figure groaned softly, and I strained to see their face through the rain-swept shroud of darkness that enveloped them. It wasn't until they lifted their eyes towards Eli that I recognized the familiar warmth within them, the iridescent green of hope glimmering amidst the shadows. It was Ryan, Eli's younger brother, who had vanished amid whispers of darkness and pain. Eli. Ryan's voice cracked like thunder in the still air. I came back. Before Eli could respond, before confusion could take hold, Ryan struggled to his feet, swaying slightly as he held out a bloodied hand that trembled with both trepidation and determination. I know what you're facing, and I've seen things. His voice faltered, the weight of unspoken burdens pressing against his chest like iron chains. The crowd shifted, uncertainty hanging thick in the air like the lingering scent of rain. I watched Eli's face contort from shock to a beautiful amalgamation of relief and sorrow. It was a kaleidoscope of emotions that seemed to shift with every word Ryan spoke. You have to listen, Ryan urged, gaze darting from Eli to the crowd. The darkness doesn't just come from without. It lives inside us, too. But the truth, it can be a bridge to healing. I've learned that sometimes, love pulls us away from that darkness even if it costs us everything. What do you mean? Eli stepped closer, his voice wavering like the flame of a candle in the wind. What have you seen, Ryan? I could see the fear creeping back into Eli's eyes, the gnawing dread of what Ryan might reveal. My heart raced, yearning to shield Eli from any fresh torment, yet compelled by the urgency thrumming in Ryan's voice. Things that will shatter your perception, Ryan replied, his breath hitching as if the words were a weight too great to bear. But you need to know. They're all tied to our family, the secrets buried deeper than the storms. We've lost too much, but we can find a way to turn it around. I don't need to ask for your forgiveness. I just need you to trust in the bond we share. But the venom, I attempted to interject, the figure cloaked in shadows still looming ominously at the edge of our vision, as if feeding off our confusion. Mary, this isn't about saving me, Ryan replied softly, his gaze unwavering. It's about facing what we are together, breaking that cycle. Only then can you all truly be free. In that moment, I saw the small flicker of hope igniting within Eli, battling against the weight of uncertainty. But before he could respond, that figure, the embodiment of our fears, spoke again, a cutting edge slicing through the fragile air. You believe this charade will free you? It scoffed, slinking closer, voice coiling around us like smoke. Would you truly risk everything on such a frail notion of connection? The figure moved, shadow twisting like a serpent among sunlight, drawing closer to Ryan. Foul laughter echoed as Ryan recoiled instinctively, holding his ground with a burgeoning defiance I hadn't expected. No more lies, he shouted defiantly, his voice rising above the torrents falling from the heavens. No more manipulation. We will face you together, and we will reclaim our truths. The figure hesitated for the briefest moment, a flicker of uncertainty crossing its features before the cold smile reemerged. And do you think it will be that easy? Do you know what it takes to truly confront the past, little boy? I felt Eli's presence beside me strengthen. It does not matter what it takes, he shouted back, voice layered with a courage I hadn't known he possessed. We stand together, united in this fight. Whatever truths you hold, we are ready to face them. The figure sneered, as if our resolute declarations were merely fodder for amusement. Yet, even amid the chaos stirring around us, I could feel the warmth of Eli's hand squeezing mine, the connection a source of strength against the tempest that threatened to engulf us whole. But the atmosphere swelled as the clouds above churned, lightning illuminating the sky, causing the figure to dissolve into the ether like mist under the sun. And with that vanishing act, I realized a fearful truth: the storm had yet to pass. Just as we began to breathe a sigh of relief, the thunder roared with renewed ferocity, drowning out our unvoiced fears. Emerging from the periphery came a figure, someone we had never expected to see again. Someone who would change everything we thought we knew. In that instant, as the air crackled with electric tension, I turned to Eli, heart thundering as the realization crept in: whatever warmth had enveloped our moment was merely a facade. The haunting whispers that promised to unveil answers were about to shift our realities into an abyss from which we might never return. The storm was only just beginning, and soon we would learn that every storm claims its price, and sometimes the price is more than we ever bargained for. The tempest around us raged on, clashing with the weight of uncertainty that had settled like a heavy fog over our small gathering. Each heartbeat echoed against the cacophony of rain, masking the tension building in the air. Eli stood resolute beside me, his hands still intertwined with mine, a tether in the swirling chaos. But I could see the fear dancing in his eyes, a reflection of my OWNAS. We looked at one another. The moment hung suspended in time, fraught with unspoken questions and looming shadows. Just as I opened my mouth to speak, to reassure both him and myself, the air shifted dramatically. The crowd shifted uneasily, their shared anxiety palpable as they turned to the figure emerging from the darkness, someone all too familiar, someone we had lost to time and silence. Ryan. Eli's voice cracked with disbelief, and suddenly the gravity of the moment altered our reality. Every person stood frozen, breathing shallowly as the rain poured around us like a surreal backdrop to our turbulent reunion. "I'm here," Ryan replied, voice strained yet determined, cutting through the humid air. "I've come back to face everything, my mistakes, our past, and the truth we all need to hear." As he stepped further into the fragile light, I was struck by his expression etched with pain, yet burning with a fierce resolve. It was like watching a mirror reflecting the white-hot essence of hope. "The darkness we fought against never truly left us," Ryan continued, his voice rising above the gathering storm. "It has survived inside our family, festering with time, but I believe we have the strength to confront it together." Eli seemed torn between the fierce loyalty to the love that had once connected them and the cumulative wounds of silence from years past. "Ryan, what do you mean by darkness? What happened to you?" His voice was dense with emotion, confusion mingling with the remnants of brotherly love that hadn't dissipated even in absence. Ryan took a moment, his gaze darting around the crowd that had surprisingly united under the weight of his revelations. "I've faced them, Eli. I've walked the paths shadowed by our family's history, the secrets simmering below the surface. One day, I feared I wouldn't return from it, but I have to tell you, our truth is our weapon." The solemnity of his words wrapped around the air, filling the void with an electric pulse, a promise of connection amidst that malevolent storm. I felt Eli tense beside me, a torrent of emotion swirling as if drawn from the very depths of their shared lives. "The venom you feared isn't just a product of our past. It's about what we've avoided facing," Ryan continued. "I don't want to lose you again. Let us weave our truths. Let them mingle so we can avoid facing this horror alone." With a shaky breath, he turned towards me, and I could see the vulnerability in his eyes, echoing the sentiments that clung to every heart present. But before anyone could respond, the figure cloaked in shadows stepped back forth from the obscurity, an echo of darkness that froze the pulse in my veins once more. "You're naive, Ryan. You think your brother's heart has the capacity to heal? To mend the havoc wreaked upon it by betrayal?" The coldness of the figure's laugh echoed eerily, sending an icy dread rippling through the crowd. Eli's eyes flickered with anger, but also an awakening vulnerability. "We'll decide what we can heal and how. Together," he shouted, a fire igniting within him that was almost palpable. The figure recoiled slightly, as if Eli's declaration had pierced through their dark veil. "Bravery alone does not change the tides. It's the fears behind the bravado that will destroy you," they warned ominously, before the rain poured down in a violent sheet, obscuring the world around us. Eli turned back to Ryan, determination twisting in the mix of hope and fear. "What did you discover?" he pressed, voice cracking, as if the answer to that question would unravel the fabric of our lives. "I discovered how every hatred born in fears wraps around us like chains," Ryan confessed, anguish lacing his tone. "Every lie, every deception clung to our hearts, festering in the darkness we refused to illuminate." With those words, a crack of thunder rolled overhead, the darkness swelling in response to the rising tension. But as rain poured down, I became acutely aware of the whispers growing more fervent, guided by a fierce hope that each heartbeat could resonate back against the storm. "It can't be true," a voice cried from the crowd, a lingering memory of disbelief hanging heavily in the air. "Not after everything we've lost." "That's right," Ryan shouted, each word driven by urgency. "We've faced our losses, our guilt, and regret. It's what we let it drive that truly defines us. As long as we allow pain to shape our lives, we'll remain shackled." Eli stepped forward, saturated in resolve. "Then we fight it. We fight to reclaim our bonds, our truths, everything we've let slip away, everything we've feared to confront." His voice swelled as it turned into an anthem of bravery, resonating violently against the afternoon sky. As I looked around, it felt like our community was collectively breathing deeper, pulling together threads of courage that had felt frayed and fragile. Their heartbeats synchronized with Eli's challenge, and I could almost taste the fervor in the air, a bond infused by shared love and shared heartbreak. The figure, cornered yet dangerously unyielding, emitted a sneer that chilled me to the core. "You really think this will end well for you? There is pain and danger wrapped around love. You're keen to discover it." But with every word spoken, The air thickened, filled with a resolute fire ignited by courage. I took a step forward, feeling the strength of the moment swell within myself, pressing forward into the vice of fear that gripped my heart like a stubborn vine. This is our choice, I declared loudly, heart pounding with the weight of connection. If we fight together, if we shed our fears, then we can forge a path beyond the darkness. We confront the truths and be the light we so desperately need. I looked among the faces gathered, each filled with determination, their shadows softened by the kindling hope thrumming in the space between words. They were my strength now, adults and children alike, every soul standing hand in hand, woven together by the tapestry of shared experiences that in that moment. The storm roared around us, its fury mixed with a visceral sense of liberation. I felt the rain wash over me, cleansing the edges of doubt while igniting the warmth of collective courage. Eli glanced at Ryan, a flicker of camaraderie igniting between them, a promise to reclaim their bond after years of separation. No more hiding, he said firmly, his eyes shimmering with resolve. Let us forge through every pain together, breaking the ties that bind with love. And with that proclamation, a subtle shift rippled through the crowd, a surge of energy pulsing against the torrent of rain. Faces glossy with determination now sparkled with shared hope, a unison that echoed the beating hearts of those who refused to hide in shadows any longer. Let us shed light where darkness has lingered, Ryan urged quietly, stepping back to join both Eli and me, a testament to the bonds we were creating immediately under the relentless skies. The figure's countenance darkened. You think you understand the journey you're about to embark on? They hissed, desperate to extinguish the flickering flames of connection. Your love won't protect you from the truths that may unravel your hearts. I understand it well enough, I shouted back, ignited by the fires of resilience. Hiding from it won't stop us. The only thing left is to embrace our truth. Together. In that moment, the rain fell as a testament to our struggle. The energy in the air felt almost electric, binding us together against whatever shadows threatened. With one last defiant challenge, Eli turned his gaze to the looming figure. Your darkness will not mold our light. It will be our shield. And just like that, as moments stretched into eternity, we stood prevailed, a gathering force of reluctant warriors ready to face the storm head-on. And I felt the echo of every heart around me thrum with the promise of unity, courage, and a love that could weather any storm. As the skies bore witness to the unyielding bond we forged against the darkness, I felt a shift deep within, a fragment of clarity igniting as we faced the inevitable unraveling, reminded by the echoes of courage that cried out, "We are so much more than the shadows of our past." What followed was unknown, but as the storm raged, we prepared to unveil the deepest truths together. And in that unity hearts bared, truths ready, we stood as one, emboldened by the fires of love, unyielding and inevitable. Whatever storms awaited us, we would confront them, not just as individuals, but as a family reborn. This was our moment, and nothing would tear us apart again.